20 years of PDP, how Muftis built and broke Kashmir's game changer. The PDP celebrated its 20th Foundation Day on Sunday 20th July. The celebrations were largely subdued and marked by apprehension in Kashmir that the Union government might be planning a major offensive in the valley. The party today is probably at its most difficult state since it came into existence. But if one ignores the PDP's troubles over the past 4 years, it remains one of the few successful political experiments in Kashmir. At its peak, the PDP changed the political landscape in the valley and became a major threat, not just to the rival NC but also to separatist political actors. Separatist or IB creation. The PDP's sudden emergence in Kashmir's political scene is itself a bit of an enigma. Mufti Mohammad Sayeed was an unlikely agent of change in Kashmir's politics. For much of his career, he had remained a staunch congressman, particularly loyal to Prime Minister Indira Gandhi. Some say that his commitment to New Delhi's position on Kashmir was such that he even viewed the National Conference with suspicion. As part of the Janata Dal, he was elected from Muzaffarnagar in Uttar Pradesh in the 1989 Lok Sabha elections and became India's first Muslim Home Minister. At that time, few would have expected that 10 years later, Sayeed would form a party labelled as soft separatist. The Hurriyat Conference has consistently alleged that the PDP was the creation of India's intelligence agencies. On the other hand, former Raw Chief A.S. Dullat has written in his book that Mehbooba Mufti of the PDP had links with Hizbul Mujahideen and alleged that the militant outfit helped the PDP in the 2002 assembly elections. Rather than getting into speculation on how it was founded, it would be better to look at the effect PDP's formation had on Kashmir's politics. How PDP broke NC's monopoly. The PDP's biggest impact was the breaking of the National Conference's monopoly over mainstream politics in the state. This becomes particularly clear if one looks at the electoral history of Jammu and Kashmir. After years of tussle with the centre, including the incarceration of party founder Sheikh Abdullah, NC began consistently fighting elections after the Indira Abdullah Accord of 1975. In every election between 1977 and 1996, the NC consistently won 40 seats and above in the 87-member State Assembly. In 1987, it won 40 seats fighting in alliance with the Congress in elections that are alleged to have been rigged. NC's main rival was the Muslim United Front, with pen and ink pot as its election symbol. Many of the defeated Muslim United Front candidates and functionaries like Sayyid Salahuddin and Yasin Malik subsequently joined the militancy in Kashmir. Mufti Sayeed is said to have informally campaigned for MUF in 1987 due to his opposition to Abdullah and Rajiv Gandhi. And when he formed the PDP, he chose the MUF's pen and ink pot as his election symbol. Ever since the PDP entered the political arena, the NC has failed to cross 28 seats in the assembly and fell to 15 seats in 2014. The PDP, on the other hand, has consistently been growing from 16 seats in 2002 to 21 seats in 2008 to 28 seats in 2014. Most of its seats have come from the Kashmir Valley, which accounts for 46 seats in the state assembly. It is because of the PDP that Kashmir has moved from a one-party dominant system to a two-party competition. Strangely, the PDP's rise worked to the benefit of both the centre as well as militant outfits. The emergence of a counterweight to the NC gave New Delhi much greater bargaining power in Kashmir. Between 1987 and 1999, the NC had become aggressive in its demands towards the centre, especially given how Farooq Abdullah had begun talking about autonomy. From the militants' perspective, the PDP's rise came as a relief, as the party disbanded the counter-insurgents known as Ikhwan, who had inflicted heavy losses on the militant ranks. Even from the perspective of the Kashmiri public, the weakening of NC's dominance and the disbanding of the notorious Ikhwan were both positive developments as it brought a phase of relative calm in the valley. A threat to separatism. Not surprisingly, the PDP's rise also coincided with an increase in participation of Kashmiris in the electoral process. Between 2002 and 2014, the turnout in assembly elections in Jammu and Kashmir increased by over 20 percentage points. The PDP's vote share also more than doubled in this period. It is possible that the PDP managed to mobilize sections that had become alienated in the 1990s. It benefited from some support from a part of the Jamaat-e-Islami and some of the erstwhile support base of the MUF of 1987. For the Jamaat, the PDP's rise brought some protection from the attacks it had to face at the hands of the security forces and the Ikhwan. The PDP's emergence also made it acceptable for some Kashmiris to vote in assembly and civic elections based on local issues while still supporting the ideal of Azadi. This made the PDP a threat to separatist groups as well. In the period from 2002 to 2008, the separatists were on the verge of being rendered redundant, with the PDP voicing many of their concerns within the framework of India's constitution. Mehbooba Mufti was often the first to visit the families of those killed in encounters or express solidarity with the victims of atrocities by security forces. Sometimes the rhetoric would be even more emotive than that of separatist leaders. The PDP's self-rule document of 2008 was a revolutionary idea for mainstream political party. It included, among other things, the economic integration of Kashmir on both sides of the LOC with a dual currency system, the creation of a regional council of Greater Jammu and Kashmir with representatives from both sides of the LOC to replace the existing J&K assembly, making J&K immune from Article 356, and giving the power to the people of Jammu and Kashmir to elect their head of state instead of the governor appointed by the government of India. Many in the separatist ranks believe that had the Amarnath land issue not come up in 2008, the PDP could have succeeded in considerably shrinking the political space for them. A conservative Muslim party. Having no previous support base of their own, unlike the NC or even separatists, Mufti Mohammad Sayeed and Mehbooba Mufti cleverly played their cards and appealed to diverse sections. While Mehbooba Mufti continued to woo part of the pro-separatist sections, her father kept New Delhi happy. In addition to this, they promoted Sayeds and landed elites who might have lost out due to NC's land reforms, and PDP also expanded its base in South Kashmir, where NC was comparatively weak. Unlike the NC, the PDP had very little ethno-nationalistic elements in its ideology and projected itself as a conservative Muslim party. Mufti Sayeed knew the pulse of Kashmiri Muslim opinion, and the PDP cleverly articulated it within the Indian framework. So the PDP brought down its own coalition government with the Congress on the Amarnath land issue that had angered Kashmiri Muslims, irrespective of the mainstream separatist divide. When it was in opposition between 2008 and 2014, the PDP took on the NC Congress government in the state and the UPA government in the center on encounter killings and their handling of the protests of 2010. Having said that, the 2008 and 2010 protests led to a revival in separatist sentiments, and there were limits to which PDP could continue being a safety valve. But the party did benefit immensely from the public anger against the NC in the 2014 Lok Sabha elections. The PDP was at its peak at that time, winning all 3 seats in the valley. The party's Tariq Hamid Qarra defeated NC Patriarch Farooq Abdullah by 42,000 votes. This was Abdullah's first ever electoral defeat and a sweet victory for Mufti Muhammad Sayeed over his arch-rival in Kashmir politics. In the run-up to the assembly elections later that year, the PDP managed to project itself as the fiercest opponent of the BJP that was expanding under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Party President Amit Shah. The PDP notched up its best ever performance, winning 28 seats, 25 in the valley and 3 in Muslim-dominated pockets of Jammu. However, that's when it began going downhill for the PDP's downfall. Mufti Muhammad Sayeed could have formed a government with the help of the NC and the Congress, but it chose to go with the BJP, which proved costly for the PDP. The elections witnessed an incredibly high turnout in Kashmir, with several people coming out to vote for the first time since 1987 just to defeat the BJP. The main beneficiary of this was the PDP, which ran a fiercely anti-BJP campaign. But Mufti Muhammad Sayeed squandered this mandate by aligning with the BJP. Many voters saw it as a betrayal comparable to the allegedly rigged election of 1987. Mufti's calculation was that if the valley's Muslims could accept his coalition with the Congress, which had a far more troubled relationship with the valley, then they would accept his alliance with the BJP as well. But he erred in mistaking Modi's BJP for Atal Bihari Vajpayee's BJP. The BJP under Modi was seen as an increasingly hostile towards Muslims, and it followed a far more aggressive policy in Kashmir. This alienated several Kashmiris, particularly those aligned to the Jamaat-e-Islami, who may have tacitly supported the PDP in the past. Still, the PDP managed to survive, with Mufti appeasing New Delhi and Mehbooba trying to placate whatever was left of the PDP support base in the valley. But this dual game came to an end after the death of Mufti Mohammad Sayeed in January 2016. Mehbooba Mufti was now stuck with the unenviable task of playing both roles. She could have broken ties with the BJP by reaching out to NC and Congress for support, but instead chose to preserve the alliance. The last straw for the PDP was the killing of Hizbul Mujahideen commander Burhan Muzaffar Wani in July 2016, which sparked widespread protests in the valley. Even then, the PDP could have salvaged some support by taking a stand adversarial to the centre, but it did not. Whatever support Mehbooba Mufti had accumulated over the years by articulating Kashmiri anger and expressing solidarity with those whose loved ones were killed by security forces had come to naught. For angry pro-Azadi Kashmiris, she was now nothing more than a quisling. In June 2018, BJP withdrew support to the Mehbooba Mufti government. The PDP paid the price for two judgment errors by the Muftis. First, Mufti Mohammad Sayeed failed to understand that Modi, Shah and RSS saw Kashmir as an unfinished ideological battle, and there was no chance of them displaying Vajpayee-style statesmanship. Second, the Muftis misjudged the anger that an alliance with the BJP would spark among Kashmiri Muslims. What lies ahead? The PDP is facing a crisis of survival today. There was once a time that Mehbooba Mufti could go to separatist hotbeds where few politicians would venture. Now PDP leaders are finding it difficult to even go into their own pocket burrows. Several of its top leaders have quit the party or are preparing to jump ship. Tariq Hamid Karra, who had defeated Farooq Abdullah in 2014, fell out with the party due to its alliance with BJP and finally quit in the wake of the protests after Burhan Wani's killing. He joined the Congress in 2017. More recently, Muhammad Khalil Band, one of the founding members of the PDP, quit the party, saying that there is no point continuing a party that had compromised on its core principles. He has now joined the NC. The leaders who remain have troubles of their own. Senior leader Naeem Akhtar is facing a crime branch probe over alleged irregularities in the J&K Projects Construction Corporation projects. The party's leaders and workers are facing attacks from militants as well. Party leader and Mehbooba Mufti's relative Mufti Sajjad was attacked earlier this month in the Mufti family's hometown Bijbehara. His personal security officer was killed in the attack. With Amit Shah replacing the more conciliatory Rajnath Singh as Home Minister, the Modi government may adopt a more aggressive policy in Kashmir, one that targets not just separatists but also mainstream parties like PDP and NC. However, the common ground between NC and PDP is increasing. The two parties are facing hostility from the centre as well as negotiating a fast shrinking space for pro-India parties in Kashmir. The NC has already adopted an adversarial approach towards the centre. The PDP will also do the same, especially if the centre makes any move against Article 35A. But the problem is, no one might be willing to listen to it this time.